goes back to your book on journalism, the one that I believe it was The Life and Death of American Journalism. One of the solutions that you posed in that book was the idea of a kind of rise in digital nonprofit newspapers. And I wondered if you could expand on that for our listeners.
Well, commercial journalism is dead. It's dying. It's never coming back. And this is something that's been very hard for most Americans, and I suspect most of your listeners to get their heads around, because no one wants to really talk about it too much. But it's the reason why Jeff Bezos could buy the Washington Post for $250 million. When a decade ago, he probably would have had to spend $5 billion or $6 billion to buy it. It's because capitalists is wisely determined, accurately determined, you can't make money doing journalism, so they're jumping ship. And this isn't just old media. That's sort of baloney. But that's just the old media. We're rocking and rolling online. And it's worse online than the old media. Like the old media is the only thing that sustains journalism online for the most part. Commercial journalism, dead, gone, not coming back. And the reason for this is simply that there's a complex reason, but the short answer is simply that advertising is going through a fundamental revolution online. That's going to change the way advertising is done. That advertisers no longer go to a content website or like a newspaper or magazine would have been offline and say, we want to reach your visitors, so we're going to give you a lot of money to place ads on your website, and then we can reach your visitors, and then you can use some of the money to put up content that will attract the people we want to hit. That was the old logic of commercial newspaper publishing and commercial media. Well, online, advertisers don't do that anymore. They've got a more efficient way. They simply go to one of the great ad networks, AOL, Microsoft, Yahoo, or Google, and say, hey, we want to buy 30 million women 25 to 29 years old who might be interested in purchasing our product. And they'll find those 30 million women instantly at whatever websites they're at. And it doesn't have to be a media website. It could be the Target website or Best Buy or anything. It could be Googling something crazily. They'll find them wherever they go. Because we now know that they know everywhere you go online. They know everything, everywhere anyone listening to this goes online pretty much at all times. They've got you completely monitored. So advertisers don't have to subsidize media or journalism or content production to reach us. They go directly to us. And because of this, there's really no money left for journalism online or content. At least the journalism. Let's stick with journalism for now. So we're in a real crisis today. Most elections don't get covered. Most types of government barely have any reporters left covering them. There's just a shocking lack of coverage of public affairs. And any democratic theory around that doesn't work. I mean, the framers of this country made creating a viable press the central mission for the whole edifice of American democracy. Without it, it didn't work. Supreme Court's reinforced that notion every time it's considered the matter. So this is a great crisis for us. The internet is not solving, and it's not going to make better. It's only made permanent the end of commercial journalism. And what I write about in my most recent books and been writing about for a long time as a central concern of mine is that understanding journalism not as a commercial undertaking, but really as a public good, something the public society needs, but that the market can't generate sufficient quality or quantity, is really the way we have to understand it, and the way I think most places in the world do understand it. And understood that way, we look at the founders of this country who instituted enormous postal and printing subsidies to create a massive newspaper culture that never would have existed if it had just been left to the profit motive. They subsidized newspapers in this country, and the smaller the newspaper was, probably the greater the subsidy was as a percentage of its expenses. And that gave us the greatest print media in the 19th century in the world, by far, the envy of the world. And we have to think in those terms again. We've got to come up with ways to make it so people can make a living doing journalism. We got independent, competing newsrooms in community after community. They'll probably have to be nonprofit, non-commercial, given the market's lack of interest. And find ways to make that happen. Otherwise, the future for political culture in this country is bleak.